Hello. All right, so today's video is going to be about doing the front brakes on a 2020 Ford Edge Titanium. The front brakes only. And I'm going to be doing the driver's side because I just did the passenger side. So I kind of know what's going on. And I have the wheel tilted here, pointed outwards so that I have easy access, and you're definitely going to want to do this so you can get to the bolts super easy. I'm only doing the front because I cheaped out. Now that I'm doing the front, I wish I was doing the rears because I took a quick peek at them and they're looking kind of bad. But the fronts absolutely need to be done because there's some braking vibration when the brakes are used. And you know, that's just from probably going down a steep hill and using the brakes too much, because I live in a mountainous area, and yeah, this is my wife's car, so that happened. The brakes are cooked. I've had a Ford Edge for 10 years now. This is my second Ford Edge, and over the years I've noticed that the brakes on these vehicles are finicky. They tend to go out pretty quick, pretty fast. And from what I think is that the brakes on these vehicles are undersized for the weight and size of the vehicle. So when you push on the brakes too hard, basically you warp the rotors pretty easily. So we bought this vehicle used, and this is the first time I've ever done the brakes on this vehicle. This vehicle has about 96,000 kilometers, and this is the first time that I'm aware the brakes are being done. And this vehicle also just got detailed. That's what I do in this shop here. I detail vehicles, so this thing is crazy cleaned. I cleaned it to the absolute max. Anyway, back to the video here. I'll show you all the tools that you're gonna need, the tools that I use. It's a little bit of a mess because it's late and I wanna get this done, and I just did the other side. So the most important tools that you're gonna need here is a 21 millimeter for the wheel nuts, the lug nuts. You're gonna need an 18 millimeter socket for the brake caliper bracket, an 18 millimeter, and you're gonna need a 11 millimeter hex key socket for the pins. And I bought new pins. And I'll talk about the parts that I got. I got these parts from Ford. These are quality Ford parts here, and they were very expensive. Just for the fronts, it was $750 Canadian, and that got me 2 rotors, 4 brake pads, and the pins. As I mentioned earlier, these Ford Edges are pretty particular about their brakes. I've done the brakes lots on Ford Edges, and I've had a lot of trouble. I've gone cheap in the past, and it's bit me in the butt a lot. And you know, you go cheap, they're either warped, the rotors go warped right away, or yeah, just no good. They're no good. Anyway, the brakes go bad on these vehicles fast because, like I suspect, the rotors and pads are too small for the weight of the vehicle, so that happens. So on this one, I'm going big budget here, and I got actual rotors and pads from Ford, $750 Canadian, just for the front. And I got these pins here. When you do brakes, usually you want to do as much, everything. Sometimes if you neglect doing these pins, you can ruin the whole brake job because you'll reuse the old pins, and then you didn't really take a close look at them, and they were all warped or rusted out, and then now they're not sliding properly anymore, even if you lube them up. And then, you just did new brakes and the pins ruined your new rotors and pads. So I'd highly recommend getting pins. But that being said, these pins were insanely expensive. They were $125 for the pins on this car from Ford. So I'll talk about the tools that you're gonna need. So to clean up brake caliper bracket, the brake pad holding bracket, you're gonna need a wire wheel or a wire brush, and also a drill brush on a drill brush or some type of attachment like that, so that you can clean behind the rotor and the face of the wheel hub. You're gonna need this. This cleans the brake pad bracket, and then you can use this if you don't have these power tools here to speed things up. And you also are going to need this as well, because this one here will help you get into tighter areas that these tools won't get. And then you're going to need channel lock is this called a channel lock? I forget. You're going to need this tool here for retracting the brake caliper piston. And I also noticed I needed this tool as well on the front, because the Ford Edge, the fronts, it has a dual piston. So if you try and use your channel lock I hope that's the right name. Yeah, channel lock. If you try and use your channel lock on the dual piston caliper, you'll retract one side and then the opposite side of the dual piston will come out. So yeah, you need something like this to hold it in. It'll just make it a little bit easier. Some of the other tools I have just to speed the job up. I got this pneumatic wrench here. I got this impact here. And then I got a breaker bar here. This breaker bar will come in handy for the wheel lug nuts and the 18mm bolt that holds the caliper arm, bracket arm on. And then you're gonna want some high temperature brake lubricant, silicone. And then you're gonna want some copper anti-seize. And then you're gonna want some eye protection too when you use your wire wheel. And you're gonna got some brake clean here in this can here. And if you want to save money on brake clean, I'd get something like this. And then you can buy a 5 gallon of brake clean like this. This was $60 Canadian. I bought it years ago and I still have it. So it's probably like $200 now. But anyway, $60 for 5 gallons of brake clean. And then you just put it in this tool here and then you pump it up with air and it shoots out pretty nice. Cheap brake clean, not paying $13 to $20 a can anymore. All right, there's the tools. I got to tell you guys a joke here. So I bought this hex key socket set here and I was thinking I'm set for life. I'll be able to pull some engines with this. Then I went to do this. I started this job at 6 p.m. and then I noticed right here, it goes 10, 12. So it's missing the 11. So I had to run to Princess Auto and get an 11 just to get this job done. It was kind of annoying and I'm glad Princess Auto is open super late. Yeah, those are all the tools here that I use, and I also use some eye protection here as well with the barn doors on the side. When you're using your wire wheel, you want to have 2 layers of eye protection just for extra safety. Grew up on the pipeline, working pipeline. That's what you're going to want to use when you use a wire wheel. And this is my grinder from pipelining as a welder's helper. It's called Slag Killer. The absolute best grinder for pipeline grinding, big inch pipe. Slag Killer. Oh, and you're gonna want a nice jack and some jack stands too. And 1 jack stand at least. Find the right spot to jack this thing up. Pretty simple. Break them loose while the tire's on the ground slightly. Put these off to the side here on the jack. I totally forgot because it's end of the night here and I just want to get going home. It's about 7:30 p.m. I just want to get these brakes done for my wife here, go home, have dinner. I wanted to prep all this stuff here so it was all ready to go. Brand new brake pins and boots. So you can take your high temperature brake lubricant and you just want to get a little tiny bit, the tiniest little bit on there. Just a little bit on here and just grease these up nicely. You don't want too much, you don't want a big glob in there, just the smallest amount to get it going. The design of some of these are a little bit different. These ones seem to be pretty good, but some designs of these pins and boots, if you put too much lubricant in there, you can stop it from functioning properly. So you just want to put a little bit, just enough to get it lubed up and seasoned. Not so much that you're going to create a vacuum of some sort and it's going to malfunction and not slide properly. So just lube these up. These are the brake pads themselves here. And I like to put a little bit of lube on the back side here, just so that they don't squeak and that whoever comes and takes them apart next, they'll easily just come apart. They won't be rusted or seized up or anything like that. So I think that's a fairly common mechanic. Just put a little bit of lube on the back here so that these don't get seized up and they don't squeak. There, I think that's it. Those are pre-lubed, ready to go. All right here is the 11mm hex key, or you can use an Allen key. I have a hex key socket. Pop these out. Just break it loose here. Now, the next thing to worry about is this thing right here. It's kind of a little weird. And to get this thing out easily, you just, if you use a screwdriver, it won't pop out very nicely because it'll put tension. So you got to slip back in here with this little, you got to slip back in there with this little hook tool like this. And then you squeeze it hard. And there. You just got to shimmy it out just the right way and it pops out. I have a little caliper hook. I don't have it on me, it's in my toolbox at home. I got a little piece of wire here and I'm gonna hang this caliper from the wire. Okay, now let's get our pads out of here. Still looks like quite a bit of meat. Actually no, this one's worn right down to the wear bar, wear indicator. The other side had a lot of meat still actually. These pop out of there like that, so you can't mix the pads up. Really easy to tell which side goes on which because of these inserts here. This side looks like it's got a little bit, 1 mil left. They're getting close to being cooked. Make sure there isn't too much tension on this little hose here. That's an important hose. The breaker bar is going to come in handy now. This is where the 18mm socket comes in, and the breaker bar will help out with this because it's kind of an awkward pull, and it's even more awkward because the camera's right here. There we go, just break it loose. Now that it's broken loose, I'll use my little tool here. Okay, you see this part here? We need to clean this up with the wire wheel here, this area. I'll do that right now. Okay, so when you're using your wire wheel, it's really important to use 2 layers of eye protection because this wire wheel throws these wires out and they can get in your eye really bad. And it's important to use these nice gloves. These are welding gloves and they will protect your hands if you bump into this wire wheel here. And this is just good safety. I know nobody does it, but when you work on, you know, in the welding industry, this is the stuff you have to do. And that wire wheel, it was kicking up wire all over me. Look, I already got one embedded in my pant right there. Look at that. Imagine if you had that in your eye. Maybe 30 of those hit me in that short little bit as I was doing that. Let's take a look at the bracket. See how good it looks from the wire wheel. Looks excellent. Feels nice and smooth. Shiny like brand new. And we'll take this high temperature brake lubricant. Yeah, you don't need a lot, just a little bit to go on here. So the next set of tools we need is this one here, this little hammer here, and some brake clean helps out. I'm going to pump it up. Okay, now this face here, it's all full of rust, and we want to get rid of this rust here so that everything goes in flush and nothing's crooked and causes us to be out of alignment and warp things down the road. Also, this is where the anti-seize comes in. You can put a little bit of this on here so that doesn't happen again. Comes off a little bit easier the next time the brakes are done. Put a little brake cleaner on here just to keep the dust down. That's about it. Okay, of course I forgot all the tools over on the other side. So this is where this little brush comes in handy here. You can just get in between a little bit closer, just do a better job. All right, just eyeball it a little bit. If you notice anything you don't like, take it out. One thing that's a little important you can try to watch out for is you don't want to put too much of this anti-seize on here. You don't want so much that it causes the rotor not to sit flush onto the face of the wheel. You don't want too much on there. You just want a little dab. You just want to work that dab as evenly all around as possible. It takes a minute Takes a little bit of a minute because this stuff is so thick and goopy. Just go around 2 or 3 times and make sure that, you know, you do a really good job and that it's very even on there. These rotors look a little funky. They got a weird finish to them. And I think it's just a primer to stop them from rusting instead of spraying oil. They sprayed a primer on here, but we can do the brake cleaner on here just in case there's some kind of oil on there. That's all you got to do, just hit it like that. Quick. Push it on there, do this side. And you could even put a little bit of anti-seize in here. I don't know if I'm going to do it. I don't think it matters. It does help for sure. You can get seized up on here. The wheel can get seized up on here too. I really like this headlamp here. I got it on Amazon. It's heavy duty. It lasts a long time. It's crazy bright, and it's got 3 really big batteries in the back, so it actually lasts a long time, and it actually is very, very bright. Not like those dinky ones that you get here and there. And it was a good price too. It was about 50 Canadian, which is definitely worth it. Nice and tight. These are usually pretty tight, so put it pretty tight. Got a big breaker bar here, so you don't have to go too crazy with it. Nice and snug. There we go. Okay, now for this part here. Oh, and we got to do these. All right, so I'm working up here. I was trying to mention earlier, this is a dual piston brake caliper. So yeah, usually the channel locks are good enough, but when you squeeze one side, the other side goes up. So I'm going to use this device here. This is a fancy piston brake caliper piston retractor tool. These are used for fancy cars like Volkswagens. I think this vehicle actually needs this on the rear when you have to turn and push at the same time. That's what this is for, turning and pushing at the same time. I'm just going to use this to hold that in place so it doesn't push when I push this in. And make sure to open up the reservoir, the brake fluid reservoir, so this fluid can move around nice and gentle. I'm super tired right now, guys, sorry. I had a long day today and this is way later than I expected to be here. Okay, there, it's all the way in. And what I got here is some more of that high temperature lube. I just put a little bit on the back side of this here, just so that this doesn't seize to the brake pad. You can put a little bit on the side of the tongue here, so it doesn't seize to the brake pad. Pins here, let's examine these pins. These pins look like they're in pretty good condition. Usually, sometimes the pins are in really rough condition, so it's a good idea to do the pins every single time. There's corrosion and they're pitted and all that, but these pins on this one, they look pretty good. But I think I can feel a little something in there. Maybe not, could be in my imagination. Anyway, so we'll pop this out of here, like so. We'll do one at a time too, so I don't mess it up. Oops. These are all lubed up too, and these do go in a particular way. I'm kind of tired, so I'm messing up or just forgetting stuff, and everything's taking a lot longer than it needs to be, so, oops. Just give this a little quick clean. Take our fresh one here. It goes in a certain way. There's a lip, and the lip goes in here. Just make sure you look at it when you actually go and do this yourself. And these are a little tricky to slip in there, so I forgot a little extra lube on this part here too. Helps it go in a bit nicer. Just gotta cram it in there and push it. So close to being done here. And then just push this up and down a couple times, make sure it's seated in there properly, and it appears it is. We're done here. I got my knee pads on now. My knees are hurting. I wasn't wearing them at all before. When I did the other side, I was sitting in my nice little chair that I have, so it wasn't as bad, but well, all over the place here. I'm just gonna make sure everything's nice and snug. It's my 3rd time checking these. Make sure they're snug enough. If you wanna know which way these go, they sort of have an arc, and the arc will follow the rotor. And since these are 2 different pads, this one can only go on this side, and this one can only go into the pistons here. They're a little hard to get in here. There we go. Slip it in, make sure these boot pins are gonna clear. Mine definitely were not clearing. Slide it in. They look good. Everything's in place. Okay, we're in. Let's get it snug. That bangs in there. I don't really like how these pneumatic wrenches do that. They really bang. Snug it down by hand. That ain't going nowhere. Put the little caps on here. We're done. So those are tight. Those other ones are tight. Put this piece back on here. See how it goes. You just gotta push here in the center and it'll snap into place. I kind of like this spring. It's really easy to set up. At first it's a little bit tricky. There we go. Got it in there. And just give it a little tap. Not too hard, just tap it, make sure it's all in there nice. Be all done. Yeah, so I hope you guys enjoyed the video. That's how you do the front brakes on a 2020 Ford Edge Titanium. My name's Josh. It's super late. I'm gonna get going home. And thank you for watching the video if you stuck to the end. I'm not a mechanic by any means, so just take this as entertainment and all that. But I like doing my own mechanic work, and I hope this video has encouraged you to do some of your own mechanic work at home, save yourself some money. And yeah, here's all the tools. One last little glimpse of all the tools. And I am super tired and it's super hot. I'm going home. Hope you enjoyed the video. Check out this fresh engine bay detail on here. She's shining. Okay, have a good one. Bye.